Warning, this video contains ideas that you might not agree with. Viewer discretion is advised. Falling into the trap of black and white thinking is easier than one might suspect. Well-known atheists and skeptics and theists have all done this. We're all guilty at some level at some point in time. No more have I noticed this become apparent than in discussions regarding Jordan B. Peterson. Even saying the name might have already invoked a response to thumb down or thumb up the video. Because after all, the only possible motivation that I or anyone else might have for talking about Peterson is because it gets a lot of views. And don't get me wrong, I have gotten the most amount of views ever from the two videos that I did about Peterson, but the other videos I have on Peterson have not garnered that many views, so this is not a winning strategy for me, although it might be for bigger YouTubers. In fact, Jordan Peterson has created a lot of content for big giant YouTubers to talk about, or talk past each other about, at any rate. Why? Because Peterson talks about something that atheists and skeptics love to talk about. Peterson has touched on a nerve that we have, and that nerve is gender and sex. No, wait, that was the other video I did. Never mind, no, forget that I ever talked about that. Though, the thing that he talks about is, of course, God. Even the dumbest idiots know that Peterson is to be feared and attacked at every angle and opportunity. Oh, he said something that did something that seems hypocritical? Let's go after him. Oh, it's not hypocritical? Doesn't matter. Go after him anyways. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a dummy, blah. Now, my personal problem with Peterson is that he stole my lobster meme. That was mine. I called dibs. I said lobsters before you were famous, so give them back. All your lobster belong to me. What was I talking about? Oh, right. So what I want to bring to the conversation of God and Peterson is this little thing I like to call nuance. See, I think that nuance has been sorely lacking in this analysis of Peterson. Either you're too forgiving of him or you're too critical, and the principle of charity has been forgotten. Again, it's way too easy to get into the black and white mentality. Peterson said stuff that used the word atheist and used the word God, therefore Peterson bad man. Let me explain using a diagram. Imagine that this is your line of thought, and it's a very linear, direct line. Now, next to that line might be a parallel thought, a smaller thought, if you will, that says, okay, well, yeah, I can see it from the other side, but the other side is less important, so it's smaller. Meanwhile, you have a reflection of the past, represented by the moon waxing its way to the left of the screen as it goes overhead, and then you have the sun coming in from the right side of the screen and beckoning you forward. So you want to aim your trajectory upwards towards the sun with your first thought there. And when you do that properly, you will see that things are not black and white, but instead shades of gray. And once you have done that, then you will know that you are one of us. You are one of us. And if you are one of us, then you will agree with everything that I say. Whatever it is I say, you will agree with, because I agree with you. And agreeing with each other about these things is important because we all have to be on the same side. Wait, that's a different video. What was I doing? Back to the video. Right, as I was saying, nuance is the key, not conformity. So, what about that nuance? I've rambled on enough already. Let's get to the point.
Excellent. So people often ask me, do you believe in God? Which I don't like that question. First of all, it's an attempt to box me in a sense. And the reason that it's an attempt to box me in is because the question is asked so that I can be firmly placed on one side of a binary argument.
This is one point that I think people have a problem with. You're not being intellectually honest with us to some degree. You're hiding something. You're obscuring the issue. You don't want to be cornered. Okay, we understand that, but you got to pick a side. It's us and them. Whose side are you on? You don't have to pick a side. But Peterson's answer actually reveals the answer. It's just the way that he frames the answer makes you think a little bit harder than you would if he just said yes to the question.
I act as if God exists. Now you can decide for yourself whether that means that I believe in him, so to speak.
Peterson has said other places that you act out what you believe, therefore it follows that he does believe in God. But what does Peterson mean by believe in God?
Because I don't know what the person means by believe or God, and they think they know. And the probability that they construe belief and construe God the same way I do is virtually zero. So it's a question that doesn't work for me on multiple levels of analysis.
Is the fact that God is conceptualized as a human being or as a man a problem? It's a problem and a solution. I mean, if you remove the human element of God, then God gets so abstract that it's easy for him to float off into space and to never show up again.
See, I told you that there'd be something that Peterson would say that we all agree with. Just imagine the idea of God flying away, never to be seen again.
But the other thing that's useful about the conceptualization of God in anthropomorphic terms is that, and this is worth noting, is there is nothing more complex in the cosmos than a human being. So if you're looking for something to represent the ultimate in complexity, it's hard to beat a human being.
Magical things happen as the Logos manifests itself.
So if we weren't being charitable, we could easily say that Peterson said magic existed there. Of course, he didn't, and I'm mixing different clips from him talking about God. What does Logos mean? Now, this is a Christian idea, but it's not rooted in Christianity. It has its origins before that. But the word, speech, talking, communication, thoughts. Whatever God is to Peterson is not the sort of God that we typically think about when we think about God. When we say or hear the word God, it's not what Peterson's referring to. So it's not really a stretch to think that when he considers the word atheist without God, he's applying improperly that term to his idea of God. So that when he says that if you're an atheist, you would do all sorts of terrible things or what have you, he's thinking of God in the sense of a morality that we have evolved throughout time that is as real as you or I, that this morality is to him transcendent in some way, shape, or form, whatever he might mean by transcendent. Maybe he means that it's true from one generation to the next.
Because the ability to speak your truth is the bulwark against hell. And losing your job? That's nothing. That's nothing compared to where things can go when they go badly. For me, it was just preventative. It's like, this isn't going in a good direction. Well, should you take a risk? It's like, you don't have that choice. You're silent? That's a risk. Now, most people don't understand the risks of silence. I happen to understand the risks of silence because I've been studying them for 40 years.
So, the word, logos, the speech, the ability to utter things that you think are true, whether they are true or not, is irrelevant. The ability to say what you want to say, to have protected your character from those who would lie against you, to have certain rules in place, certainly, but not rules of what you must say. These things are very important to Peterson and to myself, and I hope to others. Is it worth the time and trouble to understand what Peterson means by God or atheist? Well, I guess it just depends on whether you're a player character or one of those NPCs that's been running around lately. One of us, 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 one of us. Ah, my word.
The problem is that when you start to speculate, it's a projection of your imagination.